Radhesham, 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 Jaya
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की ऑल ग्लोरीज assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. At home in India.
At home in India, there were of course other reasons for Prabhupada returning to India besides meeting Indira Gandhi. His regular return had become to alternate during the West with staying in India. He was leading his movement by traveling from center to center, but for at least 5 years now he had devoted more of his time to India. His ambitious projects in Mayapur and Vrindavan, although increasing the prestige of Krishna consciousness movement, were by no means completed, and Hare Krishna Lane in Bombay was still only a construction site. Unlike in America and Europe, where Srila Prabhupada achieved his objective by inspiring disciples to carry on the management, in India he was the manager. He had to be, otherwise his Western disciples would be cheated and became dispirited, pressing managerial decisions, therefore brought him frequently to India. Moreover, he had a special inclination to be in India. He had a deep spiritual attraction to the holy dhams. Vrindavan was his home, and Mayapur was his place of worship. And he liked the unique opportunities for meeting and influencing people in places like Bombay. His upcoming meeting with India's chief executive was the kind of opportunity that came rarely in the West. And in addition to all these reasons, Prabhupada also felt most relaxed and at home there. When breaking some of his commitments to visit more cities in the US, he had written to a disciple, I was not able to come to Atlanta because I was called here to India on urgent business. Also, I was feeling inconvenienced by so much traveling. Prabhupada often referred to New York, London, and Los Angeles as his special homes and to America as his fatherland. And when a disciple had once remarked that Prabhupada would feel more at home in India, he had replied, "Why only home is the lotus feet of Krishna?" Nevertheless, for whatever reason or combination of reasons, Srila Prabhupada was showing a definite reference for staying in India.
Next.
Was displeased to see how slowly the construction was progressing at Hare Krishna Land Foundation. The monsoon had flooded the foundation, and what little work had been done appeared to be of super quality. The complete project should have been finished in 6 months. Prabhupada said that he started the devotee by saying at least completed within my lifetime. Ravi and Murthy showed him drawings of other temples. An interested person in Norod near Hyderabad was speaking of donating land, and the devotees had drawn up plans for a temple complex, complete with library and dormitories. Prabhupada approved the plans. The temple building he said should be traditional according to the Sastric directions, but the other building could incorporate more modern design. He also studied and approved plans for temples in Hyderabad and Fiji. Early next morning, Srila Prabhupada called for Ravi and Murthy and again went over their various plans with detailed interest. He had little time left before his meeting with the Prime Minister. However, the next day he left for Delhi. August 1997. At 9:15 in the morning, Srila Prabhupada and several of his leading disciples arrived at the Prime Minister's home, where they were confronted by a formidable security check. 2 days before the Prime Minister of Bangladesh had been assassinated, and Mrs. Gandhi was rumored to be the next. Armed soldiers therefore surrounded her residence. The guards at the outer gate decided that the foreigners could not go in. The Prabhupada room to enter. While one guard opened the gate, other into car which carried him to the Prime Minister's front room. Meanwhile, the devotees waited in anxiety by the outer gate. Always some disciples would accompany Prabhupada wherever he went. His disciples were almost like plotting courage that might assistance. In a tiny handwritten sheet, had noted down in a small book a list of points he wanted to discuss with Mrs. Grant immigration for 500 foreigners, all MPs in governments, they are the things, use of the houses, chanting, no public prosecution, punishable, no reasons to accept Harvard as it is. All government officers must join by state, so Krishna runs all over the world. The most pressing item was at the head of the list, Mr. Gandhi, grant permanent visas to the part president decided in India. Just a few weeks before, some of the foreigners devoted to my had been asked to leave the country. Had been asking for permanent visas wherever he met governors, members of the parliament, or other men influenced devotees were constantly being asked to leave the country to month visa. The town first incurred and the disposition of devotee service seriously hampered his son's work in India. Therefore, she would have part from 500 foreigners decided to stay home. The other points on Srila Prabhupada's list were how the Prime Minister could make her leadership Krishna conscious in the spirit of the Vedic age. These were the same tenets of God consciousness deep wherever he went. And he had these convictions that the world leaders would apply them peace, prosperity, and happiness would dawn. Indira Gandhi had a tendency towards authoritative control. So she should exercise it in terms of legislation. Then her rules would become most beneficial.
Okay, next.
go to Srila Prabhupada's car into the house, walking before the Prime Minister. When Prabhupada entered the room, Mr. Gandhi stood up. Although she greeted him cordially and offered him a seat, he could immediately detect that she was distracted, fearful for her life. He openly admitted it and added that this was not therefore a good time for their meeting. Prabhupada felt that she would have preferred not to meet at all, but was allowing it only because she had promised. Her agreeing to see him, he felt, was an indication that she had some attraction for spiritual life. But he understood that on this visit, at least, he could not introduce the extensive advice he had been contemplating. Mr. Gandhi complimented Srila Prabhupada on the work he was doing all over the world. They are good boys, he said, and he asked if she could arrange for permanent visa. She agreed, but again mentioned a pleasant anxiety. They soon ended their talk and Srila Prabhupada left. A few days later, while still in New Delhi, Srila Prabhupada received a letter from Rameshwara. The BBD in Los Angeles was miraculously fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's order to publish 17 volumes in 2 months. Composers, editors, artists, and workers had technically finished their marathon on schedule. When the first books had come back from the printers and had been offered on the altar of the Sri Dwarkadish, the devotees had cried in transcendental bliss, chanting again and again the mantras to Srila Prabhupada. They were feeling the potency of the order of their spiritual master and seeing themselves as instruments in carrying out what had once seemed an impossible effort. Today, our composer finished the last volumes of Samariya. By Wednesday next week, August 20th, all volumes will be at the printer. Now we are just starting to compose the 5th canto. The entire canto will definitely be at the printer by last Puja day. After promising delivery of books by October at the latest, the letter was signed by about 60 devotees, the unworthy servants at this conference. On their behalf, Rameshwara stated, "We have lost all desire to do anything except be engaged in producing and distributing your transcendental books by the millions in every town." The Prabhupada wrote back the next day from Delhi. "Regarding your desire for all 12 cantos, you will get it. Rest assured. There was so much ardent desire to be fulfilled by Krishna." On August 21, Rameshwara sent Srila Prabhupada a telegram. "By the mercy of Lord Balram, Nityananda, the last volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita is leaving today for the printer. By your mercy and divine order, it is done." Although Srila Prabhupada traveled on to Vrindavan, the devotees were able to dispatch advance copies of all 15 volumes to him by his 80th birthday on August 31st. Just after Prabhupada observed the ceremony in the temple, the devotee arrived in Vrindavan with the final 6 volumes of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Great relish and satisfaction, Srila Prabhupada examined the books. He was pleased with the artwork and quickly became absorbed in reading the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. He felt so inspired, he remarked to the devotees that he was thinking of stopping all touring and just staying in Vrindavan and translating. The reciprocation of the devotees at this conference was so sincere that it increased the Prabhupada's desire to reciprocate the same. He wrote to my dear Rameshwara and Anju, taking seriously the publishing and also the distribution of these books. And that is the success of our mission. We have taken seriously this work and we know that my Guru Maharaj is pleased with you because he wanted to. So by this endeavor, we will all go back home, back to God. Okay. Huh? Too long? Not feeling so well. This Prabhupada's meeting with Indira Gandhi was, I think that was Muzaffer Rahman, assassinated in Bangladesh, 1975. Huh? And she was fearful in 1975 only. That means she was assassinated in what, 1983, 84. Huh? So almost 1 decade before only she, so she must have been 10 years. Fearfulness.
Yeah, she was not knowing who is going to. But this fearfulness is always there. Some people exhibit it and some people don't. So Prabhupada had a whole list of things making everybody devotees actually. All MPs to be initiated as Brahmanas. First initiation, second initiation. No eating of meat. No, Bhagavad Gita is the only religion. By seeing her, we said that at least get Gisas. I think some got, but not as much as Prabhupada wanted. This is talking about permanent visas. That permanent visa means permanent long-term visa. Very long-term visa. And the Prabhupada, you can see here, he wanted those. This is the very famous, publishing the Chaitanya Charitamrita volumes in 2 months' time. 2 months' time, even according to the present thing, it is very difficult. With all kinds of, advancement in printing technology and even laying out. All those days, but cut and paste. You make the printout, then cut and paste manually. Most of the things are done manually. All the laying out, it's not like as much as computers. Now you can just do tuck, tuck, tuck very fast. And Prabhupada was so happy about that. And he said he wanted to stop all the travel. Travel means actually going to one place to another place, which always, you just reach one place, then within few days you go to another place. You pack up things. It's a very difficult thing. The Prabhupada said, we may even want to more translate and stop. Because Prabhupada has to make balance of all these things also. That is also required. If it doesn't go, people will not be inspired. And going there means difficulties. Then, for example, Prabhupada said all 12 cantos will be finished, but then he didn't. Only first volume of 10th canto is finished. Another 3 volumes, 11th canto, 12th canto was not finished. But anyway, Prabhupada has to make a lot of balance between which one to be taken on priority. And rest is history, so we can't change history now. In Bombay, what was mentioned? Flooding. Actually, in the beginning, they gave it a small contractor actually. Then things were not moving well. Then they gave it to L&T, ECC. ECC built this temple actually. This complex, temple and guest house and auditorium. Auditorium, guest house, the old one, 1977. And they said that unless you pay every month this much amount, we cannot do. Is it okay? ECC actually nowadays don't even take small, they take only huge projects. In that time, ECC did this construction. And so, because of all these things, maybe we'll read later. Prabhupada said, no, get a good contract. Then they got ECC. And ECC did the construction. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 41. देवर्षिभूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां
देवर्षिभूतात्तॄणां पितॄणां
देवर्षिभूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां
देवर्षिभूतात्तॄणां पितॄणां
न किङ्करो नायं वृणिचराजन्
नाकिङ्करोनायं
न
विनिचारन्
किङ्करो नायं वृणिचराजन्
नाकिङ्करोनायं विनिचारन्
सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं
सर्वात्मनाय शरणं
सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं
सर्वात्मनाय शरणं
ततो
शरण्यं
मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य
गतो
कर्तम्
मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
गतो
देवऋषिभूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणिचराजन् सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम् देवऋषिभूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां न किङ्करोऽयं नायं वृणिचराजन् सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम् देवऋषिभूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणिचराजन् आत्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
देवर्षि भूताप्तनृणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणीचराजन् सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
देवर्षि भूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणीचराजन् सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
देवर्षि भूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां
देवर्षि भूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणीचराजन्
सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं
सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
देवर्षि भूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां
देवर्षि भूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां
न किङ्करो नयं वृणिचराजन्
न किङ्करो नायं वृणीचराजन्
सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं
सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं
गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
देवर्षि भूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां
देवर्षि भूतात्तनॄणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणीचराजन्
सर्वात्मयः शरणं शरणं
सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम् गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य
देवर्षिभूताप्तनिरणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणीचराजन् सर्वात्मनैव शरणं शरण्यं यतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य तर्कम्
शरणं शरण्यं
सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं
ततो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य
गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
देवर्षिभूताप्तनिरणां पितॄणां करुणाय वृणीचराजन् सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं ततो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्
Shobha Radha Mataji, want to recite? Platini?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Devarshi Bhutatpatanam Pitranam Naking Karo Naking Karo Nayam Charajam Sarvatmanaya Saranam Saranyam Katum Mukundam Parihitya Kartam
Prabhuji, can I recite?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Oh, sorry. Adevarshi bhutakranam pitrinam nakin karo nayam vinicharajan sarvatmanaya sharanam saranyam gato mukundam parihitya kartam.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation.
O King, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, and even one's forefather, who have passed away, since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. One who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately.
Next. Purport.
One who has not fully surrendered to the devotion and service of the Lord undoubtedly has many material duties to perform. Every ordinary condition soul in the recipient of the innumerable benefits given by the demigods, who provide sun and moonshine and ultimately one's own material body. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Stena eva sa,
One who does not reciprocate with the demigod by offering them sacrifice in the stena or a thief. Similarly, other living entities such as cows are providing us with the innumerable delicious and nutritious foodstuff. When we wake up in the morning, our mind is refreshed by the sweet singing of the birds, and on a hot day, we enjoy the cool shades and the breeze of the forest trees. We are accepting service from the innumerable living entities, and we are obliged to repay them. Apta means one's own family members to whom one is certainly obligated according to the normal moralities. And the Rina means human society until one becomes a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One is certainly a product of the society. We receive modern educations, culture, traditions, and protections from the society in which we live, and thus we owe a great debt to the society. Of course, our debt to the society is not simply to the present order, but to all our forefathers and their ancestors who carefully preserved moral and societal customs so that we, their descendants, could live peacefully. Therefore, the word patronum or forefather indicate our debt to the previous generations.
Okay, next.
In fact, the members of Krishna consciousness in society are sometimes criticized by materialistic persons who have given too much attention to Krishna rather than working to fulfill all the above mentioned obligations. In reply to this, Bhagavatam 2.14 states, Yatha Karo Krishna Trityanti Datskandra Dutya Pakshaka. If one waters the root of a tree, automatically all of the branches, twigs, leaves, etc. are also nourished. There is no need for nor any effectiveness in separately pouring water on the branches, twigs, and leaves of a tree. The water has to be placed on the root. Similarly, Pranodam Parahakcha Rathan food must be placed in stomach. From where it is automatically distributed to all of the limbs of the body. It is foolish to try to nourish the whole body by rubbing food separately on all the bodily limbs. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the source of all existence. Everything is emanating from Krishna. Everything is maintained by Krishna. And at the end, everything will be forced to rest in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the Supreme Benefactor, friend, protector, and well-wisher of every living entity. And if he is satisfied, then automatically the whole world become satisfied. Just as all the bodily limbs are straightened and satisfied when food is duly limited to the stomach.
Okay, next.
The exam. My point is not coming and the book is so heavy to carry. The example can be given that a man who is working as the personal secretary to a great king has no further obligation to petty minor things. Undoubtedly, an ordinary person has many obligations within this material world. But according to Bhagavad Gita, Mayaiva Vihidankita, it is actually the Supreme Lord who is giving all benedictions.
Yeah. Okay. For example, got it?
it is actually the Supreme Lord who is giving all benedictions. For example, one receives one's body by the mercy of one's parents. However, sometimes we find that a particular man or woman may become important at a given moment. Sometimes a deformed child is born, and sometimes a child is born dead. Often the sexual act fails to produce pregnancy at all. So, although all parents desire a beautiful, highly qualified child, this is often not the case. Thus, it can be understood that ultimately it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that a man and woman are able to produce a child by the sexual act. It is by the Lord's mercy that the man's seminal injunction is potent and the woman's ovum is fertile. Similarly, it is only by the mercy of the Lord that the child is born in a healthy condition and reaches physical maturity to pursue his own life. If at any stage in the evolution of a human being, the Lord's mercy is withdrawn, sudden death or crippling disease occurs.
Okay.
The demigods are also
Okay.
the words
Next.
Demigods are also not independent. The words
Parihritya kartam.
giving up other duties indicate that one should give up any concept that the demigods are separate from Krishna. It is clearly stated in Vedic literature that the demigods are different limbs of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Further, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart and that he only is giving intelligence and memory. Thus, our forefathers who carefully preserved cultural traditions were acting with intelligence provided by the Lord, by the Supreme Lord. They certainly were not acting with their own independent intelligence. No one can be intelligent without a brain, and it is only by Krishna's mercy that we receive a human brain. Therefore, if we carefully analyze all of our multiplies obligations towards different classes of living entities, we shall find that in each and every case, it is ultimately by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that we have received a particular benediction in life. So, although an ordinary person must methodically fulfill all of his various obligations by executing different types of sacrifices and charitable activities for the satisfaction of those who have benefited him, one who is directly serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna at once fulfills all such obligations because all benedictions ultimately have come from the Lord through the agency of family, forefathers, demigods, etc.
Next.
The example may be given that sometimes the state government may distribute benefits originally provided by the federal government. So one who becomes the personal secretary or minister to the chief executive of the federal government has no further obligations to the less important representatives of the state government. Therefore, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Svat karmani kundita nadi nivedieta yavata matkatha shavanandau vashata yavanna jayate. As long as one is not distracted by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by hearing and chanting about the Supreme Lord, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunction. The conclusion is that one who has fully surrendered to the devotional service of the Supreme Lord is a full-class human being. People in general are only eager to receive benedictions from demigods, family members, and society because such benedictions are conducive to material sense gratification. Less intelligent persons consider such material progress to be the only goal of life and thus cannot appreciate the exalted position of pure devotional service to the Lord. Bhakti Yoga or pure devotional service is meant to directly please the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Envious materialistic persons propose various arguments to deny that the Supreme Lord even has transcendental senses. The devotees, however, do not waste time doubting the inconceivable beauty, strength, wealth, geniality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but directly please the Lord's senses of loving service and thus receive the supreme benediction of going back home, back to Godhead. The devotees return to the Lord's abode, where life is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. No demigod family members or forefathers can give one an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. However, if one foolishly neglects the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and instead accepts the temporary material body to be everything, then one must certainly perform elaborate sacrifices, austerities, and charity to fulfill all the obligations mentioned above. Otherwise, one becomes completely sinful and condemned, even from the material point of view.
Om Jnanatirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Sakshigamaritamvena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate virim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishya Shunyavadi Bhasmachani Satarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Gaura-bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are continuing the discussion between Maharaj Nimi and the Navayogendras. The last discussion we had Karabhajan. Out of 9 Yogendras, Karabhajan Rishi was mentioning about the Supreme Lord in Kali Yuga, how he will appear. If you remember, Krishna Varman Kasha Krishna, we discussed. Because the question was in different ages how the Lord descends and what's the process. It was asked by Maharaj Nimi. And Karabhajan explains how in Satya Yuga the Lord appears in white, Hansa. The process was meditation. Then Treta Yuga, he appears in red complexion, Raktavarna, Yajna, in the sacrificial fire, reddish. Sacrifice in the process. And in Dwapara Yuga, the Lord appears in rain, cloud, bluish black. Lord Krishna, and the temple worship is the process. And last session we discussed about how the Supreme Lord appears in golden form, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The process is chanting the holy names of Krishna. So Karabhajan goes further to discuss this very important verse, often quoted by Prabhupada, especially for those who are taking spiritual life seriously. If somebody not taking seriously, it doesn't make any difference. If suppose somebody has to take seriously, it means he may not be able to do something else. You can't do everything with a kind of full attention. If you want to put, it's a general thing. If you want to do something, want to pursue something very seriously, you may have to do some sacrifice. Like, when freedom fight was there, So many young people, they joined the movement, freedom movement. They could have done something else also. They could have done business, they could have done. They said, no, we want to sacrifice. No sacrifice studies. So many people may not have gone to the college because that was all run by the British anyway. Sacrificing studies, sacrificing family, happiness, sacrificing so many things. They want to put full attention on that. Something has to be sacrificed. So, if somebody wants to, because Karabhajan is discussing about spiritual practice for different ages, then he says that if a aspirant takes the process of Krishna, because we are having a lot of obligations, everyone has a lot of obligations for different kind of peoples, different kinds of entities. And these obligations actually are in a very cultured society. So society is cultured, the obligations are very easily fulfilled. Somebody doesn't care, that's a different thing. So now the question is spiritual practice and the obligations. Both are there. How to make a balance? So sometimes if somebody very seriously takes to Krishna consciousness, people blame. Then what about your obligations? Very correct. Hopefully she doesn't get stuck. So people generally question, hey, what is this? You are doing something and what is your obligation? Don't you know that? Your obligation to so many. And Karabhajan exactly addresses that in this. This is especially fit for ISKCON devotees of modern time, when they want to take it very seriously. Especially somebody joins the ashram, brahmachari, that's a more serious thing, by the way. At home practicing is not it's like, okay, others will say, kya kar rahe karenge. But somebody joining the ashram, they come here actually, hey, what is this? Because fellow is outside, having no chas, no everything. And here, completely shaved up, wearing some dhoti kurta. People sometimes come and cry. And they question actually, hey, what is your duty? It is not just the duty for only parents. Here the whole list is there. So now Karabhajan is making that list. And duty to the demigod. People don't even realize there is a duty for demigods anyway. Modern time. Starts with the Deva. Deva Rishi Bhutattanunam Pitranam. For demigods, the sages. Sages, because they have preserved the Vedic text. Parampara. It's coming in parampara, unless it is passed on to the parampara, you won't have the knowledge that we have now. Living beings, elaborate property, relatives are there. Actually. That's only one. Relatives starting with parents, uncles, sister, brother, distant relative, etc., etc. Friends, mankind in general, and forefathers. Not somebody is not even here. Especially when one does Pinda, they remember actually 3 generations. Father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Sometimes what happens, you may know your father, grandfather name. Great-grandfather, मालूम ही नहीं है. पूछना पड़ेगा, अरे हमारा grandfather का father है. वो बोले कोई old man का, तुम्हारा उनका ना father, अच्छा. They have to, say the names. I didn't know. I was doing, our ceremony was there for my father, And we said, "Hey, father, उनका father तो आपको मालूम ही नहीं था, देखा नहीं है, सुना भी नहीं है, कैसा मालूम होगा?" One old man telling, उनका father का नाम है ऐसा है. अच्छा ठीक है, बोलो उनका नाम बताइए. What about before that? Nobody really knows. Obligation is there for all. Obligation is there. So, the most important thing is that How to balance? Okay, these are all, you will have to know that these are all actually some or other connected to the body. These are all obligations, relations, etc. by this particular body. Suppose forefathers. In this body, you are obligated this generation, no? But if you go to another dynasty, then your obligation will change. This obligation doesn't exist. Huh? The new obligation comes. In that family, 3 generations. उधर से किधर गया उधर. So all these things, if you closely see, they are all mostly more related to the bodily obligations. So once you change the body, the entire scenario will change. In that also there will be relative, in that also there will be so many people, all this list will be there, but the obligation will be very different at the time. This obligation will be waived off. If you leave this body, this obligation will be waived. And now, what about the obligation for the spirit soul? And that is connected to Mukunda, Supreme Personality of God. Now, how to balance is the question, and the elaborate purport is there. So let us discuss one by one these obligations, what exactly they are. For demigod, we said demigods. What is the demigod obligation? Because demigods are the controlling deity of universal management, like rain. It looks like one can give a scientific explanation. The summer comes, the water from the ocean evaporates, forms cloud, and then moved by the wind towards the place where it is hot. Then precipitation happens, clouds come. Then physical explanation. But then behind that there is somebody called Indra, who is in charge. We may not be able to see him because of mismatch of range. You have to come in this range, you can't expect to see him. So Shastra says, sun god. The sunshine is required even for vegetation, for everything. Even for us, D3, if you want to know, you go to the sun actually. Sunshine is required for healthy life. For the working of the world universe actually. Wind. Chandra is required for vegetation. He is a demigod of vegetation. It is said that the vegetables and all, they get taste because of moonshine. Sunshine ko din mein chahiye, moonshine bhi chahiye actually. Taste ke liye. For sunshine to grow and moonshine is to get the taste. Both are required. So all these benefits of diet supply, we are getting from them. How can we say that we are not obligated? Suppose municipality is supplying water. Don't they send a water bill? If you don't pay the bill, your water supply will be cut actually. Electricity. Does Adani pay you the bill? Can't they get anybody supply? So all this supply, when we get physically, we pay the bill. And what about air? Actually, government is not charging the air because it is not under their control. वो control नहीं कर सकते. तो पानी है ना, पाइप में डाल के कंट्रोल कर देते हैं. वाटर का जरूरत नहीं पड़ता. इसके लिए टैक्स नहीं कर रहा, नहीं तो वो भी कर देगा. The air is available outside and they cannot just supply money to you. Maybe when pollution is so much, then it will come in the bottle, like पानी का bottle में आता है ना, ऐसा gas cylinder आएगा. That's a different thing. But now that we are inhaling, that means we supply. Shastra says Vayu is the person in charge. And are we paying tax to Vayu? We are paying tax to BMC. Then what if actually it is right? Okay, water. Then BMC is supposed to pay to Indra also, no, actually. You are service provider. Suppose if you are one service provider, you get service from somebody, you collect from your customers, and then you have to pay also, no? The problem is they stop there. Those days, the kings used to collect tax, and then they used to actually pay the tax in the form of yajnas. All this we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, that even Brajvasis, they wanted to conduct a yajna for Indra in the presence of Krishna. That is for what? It is to actually pay tax to Indra. Because he gave rain, vegetation happened, agriculture happened, we have a lot of profit, so we will give something back to Indra. So it was a culture. The kings used to do that. That is why, the whole atmosphere was spiritual, and everybody made progress by doing so. This way, the obligation for demigods are there. Whether we really appreciate it and understand it or not, we may not pay. Then Lord Krishna calls that person a thief. We are not calling. Stena. Lord Krishna says, Stena eva saha. Eva means certainly they are. Krishna is telling that those who take the benefit don't give back in return. Thief. Even Lord Ramchandra took a boat to cross Ganga. No? Then he said, I will pay. He said, no, he was not taking it. So Lord Ramchandra could have said that I am Supreme Lord, you are serving me, okay, right? That is what everybody is meant for. The duty of the soul is to serve the Lord, and Lord is coming in the front. So he is taking the service. So he just said that, okay, blessings. Blessings with this. What is the charge? He said, no, ye charge nahi chalega. हम लोग same businessman. People in the same business, they don't charge others. एक बार पर दूसरा बार पर के बाद जाता है ना, चार्ज नहीं करता है. तो क्या तुम बैठो मैं तुमको करता हूँ, तो बाद में तुम बैठो, दोनों का हो जाता है equal. Then why Ramchandra? But this is river, no? This is छोटा पानी को पार करना है. So I will make you cross this, and you make me cross the bigger river, no? So you are also boatman. So उनको boatman बनना. Because by the way, Krishna's lotus feet is a shelter boat. Samasitaye pada pallava plavam. Mahat padam punya yasho. So your lotus feet is a boat, and that means you are ferrying people. So you ferry me the Bhavasagar. I am only ferrying you, small river. You ferry me. That for you it is small thing only. So you ferry. So in that way, you take service, you are supposed to pay the charge. You don't take the service and don't pay the charge. That is thief. That's what Krishna is calling, by the way. So somebody takes the services of breathing the air, breathing water, taking water, everything, and then say that that is your job. No, doesn't work like that in a cultured society. So, yes, demigods are providing. And then so many living entities. See, when we are living in this world, you take different services from different people without even your knowledge. Suppose some animal is a cow. Are you obligated to cow? You take milk, then you are obligated. Obligation has to be continuous. It has to reach the final the person. And suppose somebody is running a dairy farm and he is committing very sinful activity, and then you say that just I purchase the milk, it doesn't stop there simply by purchasing. And the cow is not getting the benefit, still you are getting affected. That's why people encourage. Take ahimsa milk. Milk mein kya ahimsa milk hai? No, if the cows are taken care in the very organic setting, that's called ahimsa milk. And the cows which are just for milking like a machine, they are using a machine. That is not hinge of will. The cow doesn't get the benefit, then obligation comes. Even you don't even know where the cow is, still the obligation comes. Like that, there are so many living entities. In the villages and all, you don't need an alarm clock. The roasters, they you get up. You are obligated to that actually. No, that's, he woke you up actually. No? You can't say that is your job. What can you do? Without our recognition also, we are obligated to so many things actually. Birds are chirping and you are in a nice, we are going for a sightseeing visit, we are going. And you get a nice, birds and nice, you are just looking at the scenery, You are obligated to take that service from the scenery, like different plants are there, grass, trees, waterfall. Sometimes people go picnic. When you go to picnic, and you go and put your bedsheet and then sit and eat on the grass. Grass is not taking your load. You are obligated. उसको ऊपर कपड़ा भी डाल दिया, उसको बैठ नहीं गया. Obligated. If you see in our life, every moment we are obligated to somebody else. Afterwards, questions at the end. Not question time. Questions at the end. Note it down. So, yes, if you analyze, so you may not have ever thought that, just, yes, you are obligated actually. Sitting on the grass, walking on the grass, you just walk in the hot sun and you are a very hot day. You come under a tree. A tree is standing. You get into the tree, shade. Obligated. Umbrella jaisa diya na? Protected. You get into the rain, somewhere, you may be bike. Sometimes you see people going on the bike. It rains. Then you just stop the bike and take shelter of a chai ka dukan. You are taking shelter, obligated. You didn't even drink chai, but still you are obligated to taking the service from him, Generally. Sometimes on the highway, people get under a tree, at least thoda sa, uska baad pani girne wala hai. So some little shelter, obligated. Either in the sun or in the rain also obligated. So obligations are unlimited actually. List डालेंगे तो list तो लंबा list करेगा. And then family members. Yes, this is obligation everybody talks about. Aptas, family members. First obligation is the parents and the relatives. Certainly obligation is there. It's nothing that, because you took the service, Mother must have served you so much. So the child grows up, he doesn't know what service he has taken from the mother, Then how does one know that how much service? Just to watch another mother serving the child. And there's nothing rocket science. You are not so exceptional that you didn't take any service. If you are exceptional, why you are actually? So when you observe how to know that what service you have taken, you just observe a child, how much naughty it is and how much service, how much trouble he is giving to the mother, and how much the mother is tolerating and serving. You just have to watch. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all more or less same. You also in the same category. Naya category kya hai? It is not that you are a saintly person, you didn't take any service. So this is, yes, this is generally what is demanded from people. Demanded, and it is acceptable. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Yes, because the whole idea of social security is that the mother takes care of the children, and the mother becomes whole children take care of the mother. This is supposed to be security. You won't find in Indian culture, old age home or no child running away and say that no, I cannot take care. It's a high Indian culture, that is upbringing. Normally accepted of social. Here in America, they have a social security number because nobody bothers about others. So society thinks that okay, it's our obligation. Here the obligation is distributed among the people, so it becomes easier to manage. There it is, father did not spend a lot of money because the children they run away. They say, no, we don't care. So what will the old man do? All old age homes. Old age home is a Western culture. Old age home. Avatars, family members, yes. No, human society. Because it is said that it takes the entire village to raise a child. Child is getting raised not just because of just the family. The whole society also is part. Now, your child may be in the house, but he has to go out and mix with others also. No, they are also contributing for the upbringing. Uncle and neighbor and entire village. That's why it is said the whole village. It takes the whole village to raise a child. Why whole village? Because everybody is part of contributing something or other in the welfare of the child, learning, teaching, etc., etc. So why forefathers we are ancestors we are obligated? Because they have passed on the cultural values from generation to generation, each generation. Like parampara, we say as it is. Like spiritual knowledge also has to be passed down. The same way, the material cultural aspects have to be passed down also. Otherwise, how will you know? But the whole problem is slowly it gets deteriorated, especially in the modern times. People don't want to follow, no. They say that, why I should do that? Why I should do that? So passing on doesn't mean just telling them to do. Passing on also involves teaching them why we are doing. That used to be the case before. Now it is not. That is why deterioration happens. New generation, they are not interested in doing, age-old cultural things. They become rebellious when they are told, okay, you do like this, you do like this. Arey, kya yaar, boring. These are all grandmothers thing, We are all new generation. We can't do that. This is a bullock cart technology. We are rocket science. We are going to visit other planets and we are talking to go by bullock cart. Easy journey to other planets we have to follow actually, not by this Sputnik and other things. So forefathers and ancestors, they preserve the cultural values and pass it on obligation. That obligation. So when one takes to Krishna consciousness, then what happens? Exactly like a freedom fighter. When he wants to go for freedom fight, maybe he will not be following the obligation to the parents, What happened at the time? फ्रीडम फाइट के लिए गया जेल में चला गया पकड़ के डाल देते हैं अभी क्या है घर में तो नहीं कर सकता है कुछ obligation what you do how you fulfill the obligation for the father mother relatives family etc because for a higher purpose the lower obligation can be sacrificed higher cost. Nobody claims that a freedom fighter is failed in his duty to fulfill that. They say that none in a check. You have done a good job. Like devotional service falls in that category on the highest level. So, several times Srila Prabhupada gives this example of how when a tree has to be benefited, what generally we do is we put the water in the root. Once the root is given water, the root absorbs and it supplies the entire. This is the process. We don't put the water on top of the tree. The branch has no capacity to absorb, but branch has the capacity to take the water from the root. So in this way, The Supreme Lord is the root cause of the entire creation. It is from him the entire thing has come. So when the service is done to the root, that is Lord Krishna, then the service is applied to all the beings, including the demigods, relatives, etc. Because they are all part and parcel. The demigods are different limbs of the Supreme Lord in the universal form. The universal form of the Lord, everybody can be placed, including all living entities, demigods, everybody is there. So when the Supreme Lord is supplied, then entire creation is supplied. You don't have to supply independently. You don't have to put water. Yashmin to stay, Jagat to stay, Krishna says. When Lord is satisfied, entire universe will be satisfied. When Lord Krishna took one small particle of food from the Akshay Patra of, Draupadi. Draupadi is becoming famous now. So he didn't take a big feast actually. He took only little morsel and he felt satisfied. You can't force somebody, hey, you should not feel unsatisfied. No, I can feel satisfied taking one morsel also. Somebody may not be satisfied by taking the whole feast also. But Krishna said, oh, I am satisfied. Durvasha Muni is satisfied actually. Overeaten kind of satisfaction. So this example, and also another example of food supplied to the stomach. Suppose you are, okay, food we are talking about. You take the food and put in the mouth. And mouth enjoys the taste. Follows, goes to the stomach. And then it is supplied to the entire, the person becomes very strong. The hand cannot say that, I brought the food and this mouth is enjoying, stomach is enjoying. By stomach supplying the energy, you will get the energy to go and bring more food actually. Otherwise, इधर जाके food को खींचेगा, चलो अंदर जा, कहाँ जाए? It has no capacity to absorb the food. It has only, it's a working sense. Hand is a working sense. Working sense can only do the work. It cannot absorb, it cannot enjoy. It cannot enjoy the taste of the food. Your working sense should work. Don't worry about the work. For you, the benefit is you will get energy to work further. Karmendriya, Jnanendriya. Karmendriya should do karma. Jnanendriya will enjoy. So in this way, when the root cause, when the correct principle is applied, where to supply the service, to whom to give the service, which can be distributed to everybody. In the case of eating, it is stomach. In the case of watering the plant, it is the root. Like that, you have to find out whom should be served so that everybody else will be served. Instead of serving one person separately. One person separately. So in this way, Krishna, being the supreme personality of God, a service to Krishna is actually service to everyone. It may not be visible externally some of the cases. How it is, suppose if I serve Krishna, how my mother will be served? I am serving Krishna, my mother is not getting any food. And so, what is that? It will not be physically, something which can be related, but how she will be served will be taken care by Krishna, either directly or indirectly. For that, one needs to have a higher understanding. We cannot physically prove. Physical proof cannot be done. But then Krishna will make an arrangement in such a way that things will be taken care. That one has to have the higher understanding of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada also gives an example. If there are the king is there, and there under the emperor there may be small kings. So if you are directly serving the emperor, then small king congregation is not there. If you serve the whole, and the part is already served, that's the whole principle. If you serve the whole, part service need not be served independently because the part is included within the whole. automatically included. Prabhupada gives in the purport it is mentioned that childbirth, a man and woman come together, that is called becoming. And the child is born. Then the father and mother will say, because of us the child is born. Child taking birth is one criteria. Then there are so many other factors. You want a very nice child. Every parent wants the best child, isn't it? Anybody say that no, chalega, thoda bekar hai to chalega. We don't mind, no? Let it be a fool number one, no problem. Everybody wants the best. But then, are every children best? Because childbirth, parents are involved, fine. But beyond that, Karmana Daiva Netrena Jantur Deho Papati. Lord Kapila teaches mother Devahuti that the previous karma based upon which the child takes birth. If the previous karma is the best karma, you will get the best child. If it is not, then you have to live with the fact. Your rascal may be there, you have to live with the fact. What can you do actually? Daiva Netrena. Daiva means actually supervision of the demigods. And that supervision of the demigods is because of the power given by Lord Krishna. So at the end of the day, wherever you go around, you come to Krishna. Your obligation to Krishna. So because Krishna has given the power to demigods, and those demigods have directed the soul to come and take shelter and become your child, that is why even though you have an obligation to the parents, but then you cannot deny the obligation to the Supreme Lord. That obligation will be always there. So, in this way, even when we say that there is obligation for demigod, that obligation is not independent obligation. For example, when yajna is performed for Indra also, so Indra, in every yajna, first the Supreme Lord is invoked. And he is offered the first offering. Then remaining is given as a prasad to the demigods. So in that way, even in the demigod worship, one cannot think it is very independent. It is in the overall picture. Your obligation, exactly like you are paying the tax to the local government, and then finally it goes to the central government. It is also mentioned that there is a layers of management. You can't just stop it at one layer only. That's the problem when the people get into demigod worship. They stop at the layer of demigod. They don't go to the higher layer of, the demigods are having the power to not do that. So in this way, if we analyze all these so many kinds of obligations, we will come to the understanding that performing devotional service is an obligation at the absolute level. If one takes the process of performing devotional service, as we already mentioned, he may have to do some sacrifice because you can do only one activity. No, you can't do 10 activities and fully involved also. Fully involved. So if one engages in Krishna consciousness, then he may not definitely have time to fulfill the obligation for all these demigods, forefathers, relatives, and friends, and other living entities, etc. So he may not have time to do that. And Karbajan Rishi, this is Karbajan Rishi is telling that, don't worry. If you take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, if you are fully absorbed, fully engaged in service of Krishna, all your obligations are waived. One cannot complain, saying that why you are not fulfilling those obligations. This is not a statement made by ISKCON devotees for their own welfare. We are not made this statement. We are not doing anything so it's good for us. No, this is Shastra. Shastra. Advaita says that when one is engaged fully in devotional service, because he is fully involved, he may not have time, so okay, no problem. And why it is accepted? Because he is serving the whole. Because you are serving the whole, because you are putting water, you are so much absorbed in putting the water on the root or putting the food in the stomach, then one cannot blame the hand. One will blame hand water, I'm doing my job, putting the food in the mouth, that's all. So by doing devotional service, one is fulfilling actually his duty towards the Lord from the spiritual perspective. Because Jiva Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. The Jiva's duty also is there. We are having duty for all these people. What is the duty of the Jiva? Soul. And the soul's duty is to serve Krishna. Since you are fulfilling that duty, all these duties are over. Doing devotional service is also a kind of duty, and it is actually parodharma. Savai pumsam parodharmo yador bhakti radokshade. Serving Krishna is actually a superior duty. People think that is not a duty. Materialistic person may not accept it as a duty. No, it's a duty of the soul. Body and soul together we are living. We are only all these duties listed are for the body, by the way, as I mentioned earlier. Then where is the place for the duty of the soul? And that is Mukunda Parihritya Karta. When one does so, because the person is doing the duty for the soul, the bodily duties are considered less important and vain. If important thing, if a person is not performing duty of the soul, then he is supposed to perform the duty of the body. Suppose you are not serving Krishna, then you serve your mother, serve your father, serve your relatives, serve everybody. You cannot say that duty is also not a, no, I have no duty at all. And that is actually condemned, sinful, and he has to face the consequence in the next life. This life he can go on and on. There are people talking, and walking into the sunset, not knowing that how the day is going to open up. No God, I can't do that, I can't do that. Next, you face the consequence. Nobody need to be worried why they are not getting affected. They are talking all these things. They are not believing in God. Unko time aayega. Don't worry about his time. Worry about your time. What you have got it. So in this way, in this verse, so nicely explained by Karbajan Rishi, that how we have got obligation for so many in this world, and if we are on the bodily platform of life, one should be fulfilling this obligation. On the other hand, if one takes the process of Krishna consciousness, serving Krishna fully, then all these obligations doesn't really exist. And in this way, one can actually, by taking the process of Krishna consciousness, we can fulfill the duty of the spirit soul towards Krishna, and then make that opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead, and perform our eternal duty. It's not a temporary duty. In this lifetime, I got this duty. In that lifetime, I got that duty. But there is some duty which is permanent in the spiritual world, and one can take up that duty to Krishna and be successful in life. Stop here. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
So, as you said that if we are doing the spiritual duty, then the family obligations and other obligations are not important. But sometimes to live in the material, I was saying that since we are doing our spiritual duty, then the other material obligations and family obligations are not important. But then to live in the material world, sometimes we have to do the other obligations with family, our work, and everything. Then how do we manage?
So, how much Krishna conscious you are is the factor that will decide how to make the balance. When we say that a person fully surrendered to Krishna, actually what it means. If suppose somebody, fully surrendered means 24 hours a day absorbed in Krishna consciousness, a pure devotee of the Lord. So this is a highest level of Krishna consciousness, completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, chanting like Haridas Thakur. And he was born as a Muslim. What is his duty towards Islam? What is his duty towards? You are a Muslim, why you are not doing your duty? Oh, but he is chanting only 24 hours. And he was beaten up. Still he is performing duty. So if somebody is on the highest level of Krishna consciousness, for him, this waiver is completely applicable. For practicing devotees who have started Krishna consciousness and they are just like, because they are doing this one and this. So that makes difference. But they are hearing from here, no? Anyway, so practicing devotee, they have taken up some amount of Krishna conscious commitment, and that may involve doing some compromise and sacrifice. So we have to make a balance. We can't fully say that I am not obligated. So partial, as much as devotional advancement is there, that much obligation will be there also. 10% progress किया तो 10% sacrifice करते हैं, 90% तो रहेगा. So in that way, if we are just practicing and our surrender, let us say our surrender is 10%, so 10% you can sacrifice. So let us put it plainly like that. So we have to ask the question: how much surrendered I am? Am I 100% surrendered? If I am not convinced that I am not 100% surrendered, then I cannot claim the 100% waiver. Haridas Thakur can claim 100% waiver. So I have to ask the question: am I Haridas Thakur? If I am not Haridas Thakur, I should not claim 100% waiver. Then I have the obligation. ठीक है, मम्मी को भी देखना है, पिताजी को देखना है, रिलेटिव को देखना है, प्रोग्राम में जाना है, आना है. Depending upon how much. If you are, one thing is that if somebody is inviting you for the marriage, if you are not going, you should have the positive engagement of doing some devotional service. Not that you do something else actually. Obligation has to be pulled up. So, for your practicing sadhaka, the real point is to make a balance of the obligations. But obligation cannot be taken to the extreme level of completely materialistic. So you have to draw a line depending upon your own progress in Krishna consciousness. completely one cannot climb, or completely one cannot be just deviated from your. If you are okay, bottom line is this: if you are fulfilling the obligation to the family member requires compromise in devotional service, that obligation has to be given away. You cannot compromise your devotional commitment and your devotional practice. Suppose you say that, oh, मेरा relatives बुलाया, you have to come to the marriage, and you have come, so you went to the marriage, and at the end he says that no, this is the marriage feast, you eat, and onion, garlic, something, no, you have come to the marriage, it is a respect. If you don't eat, it is a disrespect for me, disrespect for the entire family. So you have to eat. Hare Krishna. So you have to draw a line somewhere. ठीक है भाई, इतना थोड़ा application में किया ना, इसको मेरे को waiver दे दो, तो वो waiver में ले सकते हैं। मेरा commitment है, मैं ये कर नहीं सकता। वो insist करेगा ना, next time आएगा नहीं। So any application that you have to do it without compromising devotional side, that is acceptable. But as long as one is not 100% surrendered, the obligations will be there. One should try to fulfill it as much as possible without compromising one's devotional practice.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay?
Thank you.
You had a question now? Okay. Huh?
That time we're talking about the application, no? Application. So that was based on applications. And as you was talking to us, you become applicable to us, all of us. That was
Applicable means what? Obligation. We are, everybody is obliged to everybody else in some way or the other. So it's a matter of how much. Okay.
Question from last time. What is the skin color of Rama?
Green. Green.
Green. But within Treta Yuga, they think the color is reddish. I heard that.
Not all the incarnations. See, the incarnations are classified with the different categories. Guna avatar, that is based upon gunas. And then Manmantra avatar, different Manmantra appearing. Yuga avatar, different yugas appearing. Like that, if you want to classify by means of yuga, then this is applies. But Ramchandra is not taken in the classification under yuga avatar. He is a Purna Purushottam, Maryada Purushottam. So in this category, he is not to be classified. If you have to classify by different yugas who is coming, and different yuga, different color also is there, then Satya Yuga is Hamsa, who is white. There are so many avatars came, but then in the Yuga Avatara category, if you want to classify, then that applicable is Ansa Avatar. And in Treta Yuga, it is Rakta, red, that is coming from the fire, like that. So Kali Yuga, the Yuga Avatar is Gauranga Mahaprabhu, which is golden bird. So by means of Yuga, you want to classify in that form. Ramchandra doesn't fall under Yuga Avatar category. So then you cannot involve why he got green color. It's a different category. But so many avatars are there. In Satyuga, so many avatars came. Not that everybody is white. Sweta Varaha is white and Ansa is white, not other incarnations. So many things. Okay. All right. Anything else? Anybody? Smiling?
I have a question, but it's not related to the topic to be discussed.
Let us see what is the question and decide.
Actually, we do every year, we Karmakandis, we do Pitri Paksh, we do our forefathers, puja. For a devotee, initially devotees, how extend this work and we should take it seriously. For example, grandfathers born before 20-25 years ago, they must have taken a birth, they have a relation, and they have our relation with that soul had end up. So how if we do something for him, how it's get benefited to that soul? Is it or not?
There are different, the law of karma is very difficult to understand. Very difficult and complicated. So the general category, the general thing is that the Pitrus, they go to Pitraloka and they are there actually, 3 generations. And after that they go like that, there is a understanding. So the Pitrus, in the Pitraloka, they are waiting. That is why they are waiting for the Pinda. If one is not performing, they are starving actually. So Pitraloka, 3 generations they stay. So when the offering is done, they get those offerings. And law of karma is so complicated. Immediately whether one person takes birth or not depends upon the different individuals actually. So even if somebody is in another body, whatever is being offered, that will be getting benefited. Sometimes you get some benefit without your knowledge what it is happening. No? So somebody in the family is doing something good for you, so you get the benefit. So either they are in Pitraloka or in different body. Wherever they are, the soul gets the credit. The credit is given to the soul. Wherever the soul is, they are credited there. So they will get the benefit either way. So from our point of view, yes, we can offer Pindadan. And that Pindadan, if it is, Krishna is being worshipped and you are offering, then they are getting prasad. Pindadan is at the end of the day foodstuff offered. No. And if it is Mahaprasad, then they will be more spiritually benefited also. So there is nothing wrong. Plus, culturally, if you don't do it, people will say that this guy doesn't care for anything like that. So for the society also, and for yourself benefiting them more spiritually, one can do by worshipping Krishna. That should not be a problem. They'll get the benefit.
In Gita, one of the shloka is written, if one is a pure devotee, 7 forward and backward generation get uplifted. They are not the sufferer. So I was.
They get the benefit. 7, 8, 9. They 9 generations. 3 only we are doing Pindadan, right? So ये Pindadan से the triple time है. उसको फायदा वाला कभी मिलेगा. So wherever they are, they will get the benefit and they will be cleansed of their sinful activities. And they get the opportunity to do devotional service. If they take up, they will progress fast. And after getting cleansed, exactly like go to Ganga and get cleansed, and after that you come and do sinful activity, then there will not be much benefit. But opportunity will be given that they will get some booster in their spiritual practice. The unwanted things are removed and you get an opportunity for doing something spiritual. But if one takes advantage of it, yes, they will be benefited. They will be benefited. So Pindadan is as far as even the Shastra says, 3 generations. And even the Pitrus, they live only for 3 generations in the Pitraloka. But it is talking about 9 generations. That means those who have lived there and came and took somewhere else, they will also get benefited. So that is what the power of a person becoming a devotee and performing devotional service. And people say that what you are doing for the parent. I am relieving from all sinful activity. If you have 3, 4 sons, one son is giving roti, another son is giving kapda, another son is giving makan. Who will relieve from the sinful activity? If you are chanting Hare Krishna and if you are going to relieve for your 3 generations, you are also doing some service. How you say that you are not doing any service? Roti, kapda, makan, देगा तो service होता है क्या? दूसरा service नहीं होता है. So people are very grossly in the material world. They can't understand beyond the physical thing what is the reality. A devotee is also serving, but in a very different way. On the other hand, the devotee relieving the parents from the sinful activity is more beneficial actually. Easily it cannot be done. Easily it cannot be done. So he is also doing no service to the parents. Not only the parents, the generation to come. Can you imagine? You don't even know who is going to come. Who is your grandson? We don't know actually. No. Grandson, great grandson, we don't know. Even those fellows will get benefited by chanting. So what kind of service we are doing? Super service. By doing devotional service, you are serving your family in a very extraordinary way. Unimaginable for an ordinary person.